Thursday, the 2nd of September 2021. And it is a pleasant good morning and a warm welcome to your program, Good Morning, Leone, the program that always starts your day. I am Sheikh Usmaila.
And my name is Daphne Kimoma-Macaulay.
Well, our quote for today says, keep your best wishes close to your heart and watch what happens, by Tony Glisso. Do you have to really keep it close to your heart?
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
Well, coming up in this edition of Good Morning Leone, University of Leone Teaching Hospital commences postgraduate training for obstetricians, gynecologists and pediatricians at the Leone Hospital. Ministry of Lands and Fobe College Administration team up to regain the institution's land. And the Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC, vows to prosecute all those involved in the undue award of contracts for the renovation of the Leone's embassy in New York, USA. All the stories and more, and you can be part of Good Morning Leone by sending in your text to 077-517741 or find us on Facebook at SLBC Channel 31 Live. But for now,
yes, and you're still watching Good Morning Leone live on the Leone Broadcasting Corporation from Broadcasting House, New Englandville. But as all of us know, even though we are now in a downward trend in the fight against COVID-19, it is imperative that we keep ourselves healthy by keeping ourselves, safe. Things that we must do and things that we mustn't do. So, in every edition of this program, Good Morning, you will ensure that we bring you some of the directives from health professionals. So, let's watch what is there for us this morning.
You see where them people here wear the mask them fine? Well, now so you say for wear your mask. Cover your nose and you must all time where they near other person.
And the program you're watching is Good Morning Leone. As you may have heard in the news, the Ministry of Lands and Fobe College Administration have taken a position to regain the institution's land. It is clear that FBC has lost land to grabbers over the years, thereby resulting to several hazards that probably may pose a threat to a conducive learning environment, where this collaborative approach is coming at a time the Lands Ministry is blazing up to address the legal occupation of land in the country. Well, to take this discussion further, we have in the studio the Minister of Lands, Dr. Senesi, and also the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Leone, Professor Lawrence Kamara. Good morning, Professor, and also Dr. Senesi.
Good morning.
Now, the land grabbing issue, involving that has to do with Fobe College has become a perennial problem. A lot of encroachers, grabbers have encroached into property, land belonging to the FBC. And now you've decided to team up with the Ministry of Lands to ensure that you reclaim, land that had been grabbed, by grabbers. Now, let us know what does this latest move actually mean, owing to the fact that now you are working in collaboration with the Ministry of Lands, the ministry that's responsible for land in this country, to actually reclaim, land lost to grabbers. Professor, I start with you.
Well, what does it mean? We're talking about a period of 11 to 13 years back, when these activities have been building up right along the periphery of Fobe College. We assumed office 2-3 years ago, and we see it as a very unhealthy situation. You have people who are intruding, people who are trespassing dangerously at this moment, the campus, and they are assaulting staff and students on a daily basis. So the encroachment has led, which itself is a problem, has led to other very, very severe problems. And this is what we want to tackle. And I'm very pleased that we have a minister who now has listened to us and has understood the problem. This is not the first time we actually try to tackle this. situation. We had the Ministry of Lands before, and we had the promises that they will actually come and collaborate so that we can put this.
So in other words, Professor, are you saying that successive ministers of land, gave little or no attention to you? Because according to you, you made several calls, on ministers, and to ensure that issue was addressed long before this time, but that was not successful.
Well, they have not been. What I'm saying, they have not been proactive to this extent as the current minister. And I think this is where I commend the current minister, because the very first day we went there, he listened to us, and I think after that there were moves, very, 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 promising moves, which is now, resulting to our meeting here today.
Now, Professor, tell us how many acres of land the grabbers grab?
About between 20 and 30 acres.
So what was your first move? For example, if you notice that someone is building a structure on your land, what has been your first move?
That's what I'm saying. When I started, I told you about this is something that has been built up over 11 or 20, 13 years. We have been there for between 2 and 3 years. So we have inherited a lot of this mess. And it is now our responsibility to ensure that we put an end to it.
But then, Professor, you've been part of that university, that college, for a very long time now. Probably you are not in the right position, to take certain decisions. But about a problem, grabbers there on Fabric College campus, it is really a peculiar problem. And now you've got the will from the political leadership of the Ministry of Lands, and he's giving you the support to ensure that you claim, lost land to grabbers. Now that this opportunity has come, once you've reclaimed, the land, what else will be your next move?
First of all, the encroachment, the poaching and the encroachment has resulted into other serious problems.
Okay.
The first one is the scarcity of water. It has resulted in so much scarcity of water and the supply of water to not only...
Deforestation is taking place. The trees are being cut down.
Yes. And it also has some security threats. It also has led to security threats for most of our students. So this is the reason why we have to ensure that we find a way to deal with this encroachment. Because if we deal with the encroachment, then we are bound to minimize the threats posed for security and the threats posed for...
Now let's come to the Minister of Lands, who has, because as far as Professor Lawrence Akwara is concerned, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Fabric College, University of Sierra Leone, he's got the support of the Ministry of Lands to ensure that the land is actually claimed. Now, Dr. Tural Sinesi, you also been an academic. You've been hearing about what has been happening, as far as the land of Fabric College is concerned, especially around that botanical garden. Now that you've come on board to ensure that you solve this problem once and for all, and let us see how abstract this particular move is going to be. Because every day people are encroaching.
Yeah, well, let me start by saying in the first place that FBC is a public institution. That institution is owned by the state. And it is the responsibility of the state to protect that institution. So, that being the case, as a responsible government, we have to ensure that we take the political decision to protect that institution and all other institutions that are state institutions. We need to take that as a responsibility. So in the first place, it is to acknowledge that there is massive encroachment on that land. And the future is what we're not thinking about as a government. Should we allow that to continue? What happens to the future generation? And as a government, if you are responsible enough, you have to take some actions. So, the University of Sierra Leone, particularly, of course, the federal administration, we are not collaborating to make sure that we recover the land again and then secure that land. We have a responsibility to give the necessary support to the university to secure that land. And there is something we also need to know. That institution is a knowledge production industry. And if we are talking about sustainable development for Sierra Leone, the knowledge production industries must be protected. If we fail to do that, we have a chaotic environment. Learning will never take place, training will never take place. There is no way we are going to solve the problems or challenges facing society at large. So, for me, and of course for government, we are resolute. We are going to work with the administration to make sure that the land that belongs to that institution is protected. Previously, it was 468 acres of land that was bought from the War Department during those days for £40,000. And that one was done by government to ensure that the institution is well established for development in terms of manpower, skills, for national use. So we spent money as a government in the past to acquire that land for the use of the college. So for some reasons over the years, people believe they could just maneuver and then of course acquire those lands and then think they are smart. But it's not correct.
Now, let's talk about the acquisition of this land by these grabbers. What if some of these grabbers produce an authentic document from the ministry that they bought this land from the ministry? What is going to be your strategy? Are you going to compensate them?
Well, it's not a question of compensation. You see, there are certain things in this country, people always want to outsmart the system. And when you outsmart the system will always fight back. When you offend the environment will always fight back. I'll give you an example. Years back, grammar school, people encroached on that land for so many years. Knowing fully well that land belonged to grammar school. At a point in time, there was a political will and a decision was taken. And today, grammar school campus is well secured. So, in the first place, if you collaborate or connive with state actors to acquire land that do not belong to you or to the state or to that particular institution, then you are part of the conspiracy. Does that mean because there's no wrongly we have to now find a way to justify that? No. We have to let people know that it's wrong.
Doc, now that you've decided to work with the university authorities to ensure that the land is actually reclaimed, let us know first, because I know for sure that there are makeshift structures right now as we speak. Bambolis, bambolis or those funny structures are around. And initially, people started by cultivating potato leaves, cassava leaves, and some other crops. And gradually they started, putting up makeshift structures, and those structures are still around. So, what is going to be your first move in ensuring that that land is actually reclaimed by Frobikos?
In 2014, there was an action taken to survey that land, and the records are there. There might have been some changes from 2014 to date. So we're not collaborating with the University of Sierra Leone, specifically the Frobikos College administration. So the first step, we are going to assess again the level of encroachment on the land. Once we do that, the next step is going to inform those encroachers that formally this time around, that the land belongs to the Frobikos College or the University of Sierra Leone, of course, Frobikos College being the campus. We have to inform them formally with respect to that. And then secondly, we may negotiate the pathway by way of asking them to leave the land so that we have a peaceful transfer of that land to the university administration, Frobikos College to be specific. And then thereafter, where we think there was some justification on the part of some people for acquiring that land, as a government we will now negotiate that pathway. But we need to establish in the first place that it is wrong for you to encroach on a land, stay there, maybe take some time because you've not been asked to move, and there is always this thing that's been mentioned, adverse possession here and there. I mean, what about the adverse dispossession of the people? This land belongs to a university. It is not a private, it is not something that belongs to one private individual. It belongs to the institution.
No, let's talk about officials in your ministry, the Ministry of Finance. And somebody could just come up and say, okay, well, there is a particular official, a senior official in your ministry that actually helped me out, to acquire this land. So what happens to, some of your officials who probably might have connived with these grabbers, to acquire a Frabi College land illegally?
That's all part of the offense. Conspiracy. If you conspire with somebody to acquire a land that do not belong to a private individual, let me tell you something. Most of the land acquired along that particular Frabi College axis, take for example, Cassava Farm, or how do they call it? Commander Farm, etc. Look, people pose to be the owners of those parcel of land as private property. And it's not in the system. We do not have it in the system. What we have in the system is land belonging to Frabi College. So if for some reason surreptitiously somebody has conveyed that land to you, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have right to it. What if
it bears a signature of a particular director of it and lands, and that person probably is still working in your ministry? What happens?
We'll take disciplinary action, and we have started taking disciplinary action against people, staff of the ministry that are conniving with members of the public to convert public land into private land. That is another thing. You see, when you effect a change, you must be ready also to confront the challenges. We have state lands that are being converted to private lands, and when that is done, it is an offense. So you, the purchaser, and somebody facilitating that process, equally the two of you are committing an offense. So for us in the ministry, we've started taking disciplinary action. And for you, the purchaser, you should also know that you have done that wrongly, and then there are consequences. But you know that.
Now, doctor, what if these occupants of this land or these grabbers say we're not leaving this land no matter what the government says because of the kind of structure, the massive structure they've placed in this land?
Did you witness the grammar school saga? We are having 2, 3, 4 stories there. And besides, is there any way somebody is going to be bigger than the state? There is no way.
Well, a group of people will make some amount of chaos.
It's not a question of chaos. How could that happen when there is law and order in this country? You might be inviting yourself to face the law.
But what if that happens? Exactly.
We pray that it doesn't happen, but if it happens, then definitely we allow the law to take its course.
Really, Doc was talking about the grammar school incident. When massive structures we are constructed, on that piece of land, and that land actually belonged or still belongs to grammar school. What happened, after a court decision? The houses were brought down. Yeah. So now let's come back to Professor Lawrence Kamara, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Frabi College, University of Sept. Now, Professor, you've got the support of the ministry. The political will, he does know that the political will is there, by virtue of the fact that he is in charge of that particular ministry. So now, people say delay is dangerous. Now that you've got the support of the ministry, how fast are you going to move to ensure that this process is concluded? This process of reclaiming your land is actually concluded. How fast are you going to ensure that happens?
This is really a process. So we talk about first. I'm not sure we can use the word there first. It's a process that we're going to go through. I'm sure it's going to be gradual because it's a complex thing. We're going to approach people who have settled on Frabi College land, some for several years and some for fewer years. So how we deal with one situation or the other is going to be by case basis. There are some cases where, as the minister was when he said, you might want to deal with it, maybe with some sympathy in the sense that if there are legitimate documents, and you find out that this is Frabi College land, but they are legitimate documents, and he is able to.
Well, how how can somebody produce a legitimate document?
Well,
Where in fact, what is in the database of the Ministry of Lands is actually a land belonging to the Furabi College.
If he is able to prove that from the angle of the ministry, then that's a different case now. That's a different case now, right? I'm not saying all the cases we're talking about are like that.
Okay.
But I think the ultimate thing is that we have to decide on demolition of some of these structures.
Some of them.
Yes.
So
So far as we see that these ones have to be demolished.
What if a property falls within your land, and there is now this decision that structures on your land must be demolished? What happens? What if those property you're talking about actually, or a particular property falls within the land of Furabi College?
The first thinking is to demolish those structures that are actually on Furabi College land that are creating all the problems. So that is the first aim. Secondary to that, but that depends on whatever suggestions may come from the Ministry of Lands, because we're actually in this process together. And whatever they will advise, I think both of us will have to sit down again and try to look through that.
No, but what if again, like I ask the Ministry of Lands, what if there are probably certain staff of Furabi College, especially the junior staff, who are having some structures on that particular land? What happens?
I'm not ruling out that scenario. Because when the minister was talking about the possibility that such staff could exist in the Ministry of Lands, you can't rule out that they are actually even existing in the Furabi College. Right? You may have staff from Furabi College who have sold pieces of land
to structures
to outsiders, or who are also building structures, apart from selling them to outsiders. Right? So these scenarios are all there. But we're going to deal with them case by case, be you from the Ministry of Land or be you from Furabi College. For as long as we know you have not taken the right approach to acquire that land, then we know that.
So how many hectares are we talking about, Professor?
Of land?
The encroachment.
The encroached, lands that have been encroached upon. How many?
20 to 30 acres of land.
Wow. So now, somebody here is saying the Furabi College land grabbing has dragged on. Even the college administration has not done enough to protect their property. This one says, Dr. Tuad, hope you will pull the strings on the issue. Good step. Mr. Minister, watch your ministry. Too much often fake documents from the ministry. Now, also, yes, although at that time you were not in charge, you are not the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Furabi College, but this person is saying that even the administration has not done enough, to protect the property belonging to college. In this case, the land we are talking about.
We're talking about protect 2-3 years. Is that what you're using the word protect within the period of 2-3 years?
What I'm saying,
So in other words, the past administration did not do anything to reclaim the land.
So we have made about 5 attempts also demolishing those structures. But we don't have that requisite force. We're also talking about a country where people are just lawless, they are indisciplined. I no matter how you try to push them away.
Maybe we are not using the right approach.
Well, I don't know what the right approach is. What is the right approach?
Maybe having the political will from the ministry.
And I told you earlier that we've actually approached the previous ministers, also the Ministry of Lands, with respect to this problem.
So, Professor, now that you've got the political will, because what was lacking, in my view, what was lacking was actually the non-availability of political will. Now you've got the political will, and which means this is the right time for you to regain or reclaim that portion of land. Now that you've got this will from the ministry and from no less a person than the minister himself, how are you going to make use of this opportunity?
Well, that's why we started making use of. We have to let the public know, the entire public know that this is the situation at Frobe College. Moving forward, we're going to have a few meetings with the ministry. The committee has been constituted already, comprising staff from the ministry and staff from the ministry and Frobe College. And they are going to meet, and then the next stages will be actually planned. So this is a process, and we are going to go through that.
Now, tell us more about this committee, because it is possible that they would want to favor a particular set of people not to lose their land. So tell us what's the composition of this committee.
I understand, because every member of the committee is seeking the interest of either for the college or the Ministry of Lands with respect to the authority that has been given to them by the minister.
So in other words,
that interest has to be sought. So I can't see the possibility of anybody being on that committee who will be behaving in another manner.
So now I come back to the Minister of Lands, Dr. Tural Senesi. When you came to the ministry, there was a time when I don't know probably if the name is right, word I should use. There was a kind of a lockdown. Certain activities were stopped, and you mean there was a few years back, you go to the Ministry of Lands, you see a lot of people as though that was a marketplace. Some of them, they were called auxiliary or so, and that actually has been sanitized in a way, because going to other things, a few months back, you can see that sanity has been restored under your leadership. Now, what the point also is, that ministry is actually understaffed. What are you doing to ensure that you have the right capacity, the numerical strength to run that ministry? Because as we speak right now, you have fewer staff doing a lot of work.
It is like you have done a whole lot of research on the ministry because you have so much facts at hand. I mean, you are quite right. I inherited a situation where you have too many auxiliary staff in the ministry. But when you talk of auxiliary staff, this is like you having volunteers. And when you have volunteers working with a public sector institution, where the names are not on voucher, then there is a tendency to do a lot of other odd things that may just, take the image of the sector itself and of course governance. So the first step was to talk to the staff, let them understand that, it's not correct. If you do the wrong thing, there is no way I'm going to hold you responsible, because in the first place you are not part of the civil service strength. The codes of ethics that guide each and every staff in the public sector do not apply to you because you are not part of the system. So I had to let them understand that, and then of course I encourage them to wait for a while and see what could be done to do formal employment. So I think that one has been settled. So you now see that there is no chaos in the ministry. Well, besides that, it's a question of having systems in place. If you don't have systems in place, everybody behaving the way he or she feels like, then of course there's bound to be a chaotic situation in the sector. So what we have done as a government is to ensure that there is standard operating procedure. That one guides each and every step with respect to land administration and management. So today you see that there is no chaos there. Numerical strength, of course, there's a huge capacity gap in the ministry. That is one. Secondly, we need more men on the ground. And for now, I think we are working with the Public Sector Commission, PSC. We are about to do recruitment. Very shortly we'll get to the public. But this time around, the recruitment is going to take a different form, in the sense that we'll be asking for specialists, professionals, not somebody that will want to come down on the job, no. And we are also in the process of establishing also the training institutes.
Because I was coming to that, there is a school just across.
Sure.
And that school is the school where, surveillance are licensed.
Sure.
But that school has been out of operation for some years now.
Sure. Well, you know about my background. that one is going to be resuscitated, and then we start training program again. But I mean, that one is aside in terms of the internal administration and processes. That one I know it is not perfect, but we are getting there. But let me come back to University of Sierra Leone, Frabe College, as you mentioned. Government, as I said earlier, is responsible for providing security right across, including security for the human beings. So, if we have a national institution that is not secure, it is a concern to us as a government. And what we want to do here is, in the first place, as I said earlier, there was a survey in 2014. We're going to do another survey, a resurvey of the entire parcel of land, which is 468 acres. No sooner we do that, we want to assess the level of encroachment in the first place. That is what we want to do. And to ensure that the land is there. And secondly, we are going to ensure that we engage also the people, including the land grabbers, for them to understand that this land belongs to the Friday College and that it is of interest to the state, and that we have a responsibility to secure that land for future generations. Because it's not only about us now. We're talking about 468 acres. And since then to now, we have not been able to protect that. It is like, I mean, we are waiting for people to come and do the job for us. No. We have the capacity, we can think around the problems and then build out solutions to those problems. So as a government, what we want to do this time around is that what successive governments have failed to do is what we want to do now, to secure land. And it's not only going to be securing that land by way of having perimeter, bakings or demarcations here and there. No. We are going to collaborate with the University of Sierra Leone, Frabe College to be specific, to fence that land. I think that is where we need to emphasize that we have to fence that land. 468 acres is not too much to be fenced. Like, take the University of Ibadan, they have over 2,000 acres. It is all fenced. Take the university.
Now, Mr.
So protected. So as a country, and we say we cannot fence a land, which I know is going to be about 400 acres. We cannot fence that one. The first campus or university institution in Sierra Leone, we have over 15 or 30,000 students currently enrolled in that institution. Alumnus goes into thousands. We have also Sierra Leoneans aspiring to see their children go to that institution. We have primary and secondary school children who are also aspiring to go to. So we cannot protect that. No, we have to protect it, and it has to be
now. Doctor, tell us before we go for a break. Is this move going to be replicated for other government bodies like the SLBC?
Obviously, you see, you read around your job. I've read so much around this job, and I know too many things. Let me tell you something. Freetown Teachers College, since 1983 to date, they are on lease. They are on lease. And the instruction I have from His Excellency to the President is to correct all the anomalies. So we are going to give them freehold. Other institutions are also there. They are on lease. Since their establishment, we are going to give them freehold and convey the land to them formally. These are the things we are going to do for all state-owned institutions. We can't continue to have ad hoc arrangement for state institutions. It's not correct. It is like we are not serious as a nation.
Thank you very much, Minister of Land, Dr. Turad Senes.
Now, before we go, and Daphne, quickly, I just want Professor Lawrence Kamara, Deputy Vice Chancellor at Frabe College, University of Sierra Leone. Now, Doc mentioned, on Legon campus, they have a system. For example, commercial vehicles pay taxes, they pay. And it's like, you have to pay so that you know how long you stay on that campus. I mean, the vehicle owner. That is what they are operating on right now. When actually are we going to see Frabe College go to?
Right, I think we're heading towards that.
Okay.
We have been thinking about that, we're heading towards that. Okay. I go to Legon as an external examiner every year. I know what is in Legon. Legon is right in the center of the town, the center of the city, but it's fenced.
Yeah.
Now, what's more interesting, I was looking at all the deputy vice chancellors from 1827 when Frabe College started. And there are 14 British deputy vice chancellors and principals that are British. Then after that you have 8 in that succession before me, making the 23rd one. What we failed to do, what is in Legon, what Legon did and what they failed to do, leading up to this point where we are, is that they should have started fencing the periphery of the college right from 1827.
Okay.
That they failed to do. So that has really exploded into this problem.
So eventually there's going to be a toll system on Fabric College campus.
Now the toll system, we have that in mind, but we are waiting for that time. Because Fabric College Road has become a thoroughfare for everybody. It's like the only road now that the public is using. But fortunately, the Leicester Road, I think the Chinese have started, that is that contrary, so now the Chinese have started doing the Leicester Road. As soon as they finish that road, we are going to block the road. The Fabric College Road, both at the upper end and down the Whitewater end. And everybody going there, of course, the bikes will be stopped from going there.
Okay.
Any other vehicle going there, passing through that, will have to pay.
All right. Thank you so much. And here is Professor Lawrence Kamara, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Fabric College, University of Sierra Leone. Earlier you heard Dr. Turat Selensi, Vote Plans and Quantity Planning. Well, that is how we say goodbye to both of them, the professor and the doctor. It is good morning, Sierra Leone. We are going for a very short break and we'll be right back.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, good morning to you.
Of the house. Whenever I want to prepare palm soup, there's no need pounding palm fruit. All I need is Inkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. My soup is done, and its preparation, it is not difficult at all. Inkulenu palm soup base, it's easily done with no difficulties. Just a few ladles, and your soup is done. And its flavor, it's amazing. This is Inkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. And this is Inkulenu's Ghana's original spiced palm soup base. Iron fruits and turkey berries are naturally added.
Also available brown gold natural cocoa powder, sunny gold brown sugar, meat fufu flour, shito, pisa, and moringa. All available at Nyami Ado Enterprise, 1 Lower Waterloo Street, Freetown.
Inkulenu palm soup base.
Ghanaian original taste.
Welcome back. The program is Good Morning Terrain, live on the Terrain Broadcasting Corporation. For another issue this morning, the university, the Anti-Corruption Commission has vowed to book professionals and politicians that are involved in the undue award of contracts for the renovation of the Sierra Leone's embassy in New York, United States of America. Initial findings of the ACC show that 88% of the renovation fund has been given to the contractor, with only 47% of the contract done. The original contract for the renovation signed in 2016 is $2,500,000, which was increased in the same year to over $5 million. Well, to talk more on the issue or on the investigation, we have in the studio the Deputy Director Deputy Director of Public Affairs of the ACC, Abubakar Ture. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Terrain.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
Now tell us, what exactly are you investigating on the embassy?
Thank you very much. As you already stated in your intro, of course this has already been in the public domain that way back in 2012 there was this project approved by the government of Sierra Leone through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the refurbishment of the UN Permanent Mission, Sierra Leone's Permanent Mission in New York. And so, as you stated in your intro, the original contract was about $2.5 million that was approved for the refurbishment to take place. But later, another addition was made to that amount, which is about $2.7 million. So now we are talking about a total project costing about $5 million, over $5 million. And since that time to present, we realized that about 88% of the money has already been disbursed for the refurbishment. And of course, that is about $4.6 million, which has already been paid to the contractor. And the contractor is an American citizen by the name of Julius Sanders Davis. And based on our investigation, we found out that even due procurement procedures are not even followed, in the whole implementation of the project. So we have already spoken to some persons of interest. Of course, they include former political heads and former director generals of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the current head of chancellery at the permanent mission, and of course even other former head of chancelleries in the mission. So we spoke to a whole lot of them, including, of course, Dr. Ali Kaba, who is the former permanent representative, and we also spoke to one Mr. Mina, who was an ambassador.
Now, tell us, how was the bidding process done? Maybe the present contractor was favored and he is actually not competent for the job. That is why only 47% of the work has been done.
You are perfectly right. Based on our investigation, we found out that, as I said, due procurement procedures were not followed. And even the contractor that was awarded this contract has no authentic documents to show that he can undertake this kind of project. And for us, this is the problem, because if you look at the embarrassment that this project has caused this nation, even as we speak, there is a lawsuit against the state of Sierra Leone in New York. The neighbors residing in that area where the house is. So they have already sued Sierra Leone because of the danger that project is causing to their safety. So this is all an embarrassment
tell us,
to this nation. So that is why when we launched the investigation, the team that went to New York, it even included somebody from the Ministry of Works, an engineer who went there to assess how far this project had gone.
So what would happen to the contractor if you found out that he is not competent and more than 50% or $4 million has been given to him?
And now, what we've decided, because the contractor has been very uncooperative, because we have tried to talk to him to give us details on how far he has gone with the work and all that he has done so far, but he has not been really cooperating with us. And in fact, out of the 6 people we think we are going to indict on this project, we strongly believe that he is going to be one of them. He is an American citizen, but we are going to use what the Anti-Corruption Act.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask, how would you get a hold of him?
Definitely. So we are going to use the mutual assistance, which is under the Anti-Corruption Act of 2008 as amended in 2019, which provides for mutual assistance. So we've already informed the U.S. Embassy here in Freetown, and for us to get that man to come and face trial here.
No, Mr. Touge, you've already investigated, you've interrogated, certain people who have some link with that particular arrangement, for the refurbishment of our mission house in the United States of America. Do we know who are these individuals? What so far have you been able to, gather from, what they've been saying, based on questions you've been asking them?
Of course, we spoke, as I said, to several people. They include, former political heads of the ministry. Of course, as I told you, it includes Nabila Tunis, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, another former minister, Dr. Samuel Kamara, and we also spoke to people who were head of the permanent mission in New York, and even the current chancellor in the mission in New York, who is Saidon Lalo. In fact, he is currently in Sierra Leone, because we already made a request for him to be recalled back to Sierra Leone, and currently he is in Sierra Leone. Facing the investigation. In fact, we've already put him on bail. So it's a host of people, including even the former Minister of Development, Dr. Francis Kaikai. So we have a whole lot of people, including also the current Accountant General, Richard Williams. So these are the people that we spoke to, and definitely the people that we are going to indict will be part of some of these people that are.
No, and
the list I would say is very long, and of course it is not
very long.
Not the name.
Now, persons of interest, right?
Exactly.
Persons of interest. Now, I understand that there is a particular person of interest, you want to speak to, you want to interact.
Yes.
But that person has not been able to make himself available.
Yes.
And who is that person?
And that's Adikali Suma. Is a former representative. In fact, the time when the initial contract was signed, he was the one that was in charge of the mission in New York. So we had made several attempts to speak to him, but up to this time, he has not yet presented.
So are you going to use the HR approach, which is part of your mandate, and it is a law that if probably the person is not residing in Sierra Leone, and he decides not to call to answer to questions, ACC has the powers to ensure that he is actually extradited.
Yes.
So if he refuses to come, are you going to use that approach?
So the first thing is we have not yet located
where he is.
We don't even know where he is currently. So that is why we use the media to reach to him, and of course if people know him, to tell him that he should report to the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Okay.
But one good thing that's really happened to the fight against corruption is the fact that there is currently a provision under the Anti-Corruption Act, the amendment that was done to the 2008 Act, the amendment in 2019, which provides for people to be indicted, and trials can even proceed even in absentia. So whether or not he presents himself, to the commission, as long as we have enough evidence to indict him, definitely we are going on with the indictment, and trials will be put, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm Deputy Director of Public Affairs of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Abubakar Toure, for talking to us there on this issue. Let's go to another issue. The University of Sierra Leone Teaching Hospital has commenced postgraduate training for obstetricians, gynecologists and pediatricians at the Leone Children's Hospital in Freetown. The training is targeting 7 obstetrics, gynecologists and 4 pediatricians. This is a step to address the rate of maternal and child mortality and also increase the number of professionals in the maternal and child health. The training is supported by the governments of Sierra Leone, Freetown City Council and Mama Pikin Foundation. It is part of the $3.5 million support to boost the medical sector in the form of capacity building for doctors and medical supplies. Well, to talk more on this intervention, we have with us in the studio the Country Director of Mama Pikin Foundation, Leone Mahota Rizkapa. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Terry.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So tell us more about this approach with the Freetown City Council.
Yeah, so this is an initiative that has been talked about for many years. From 2010, I believe, the Ministry of Health with University of Sierra Leone has made an effort to come together and try to address maternal mortality in the country and infant mortality, child mortality, by developing a training program for specialization in obstetrics, gynecology, and pediatrics. But up till now is when it's actually launched, and we partnered with the mayor of Freetown and the Freetown City Council to help us find the resources. And what we came up with was about $4 million grant to get this project started. Mm-hmm. So we are very happy and pleased to actually commence yesterday, September 1st, 2021, here at PCMH, the hospital, and Leone Children's Hospital yesterday. So we have renovated a hall, a lecture hall. We've also made upgrades to the doctor call rooms, which are the rooms that doctors sleep in when they are on call overnight. And so all of those things needed to be renovated, updated. And we also have a facility with computers and Wi-Fi for them to be able to access lectures properly in the space. So space is definitely an issue. And even though the space that has been renovated is quite small, we will continue to push this initiative forward so that we can acquire more space for these doctors to be trained properly and be specialized. It's a 3-year program.
Now, I believe this is to boost the maternal and child health in the country.
Correct.
So that means there is a rundown or a problem in the system.
Absolutely.
Tell us exactly the percentage of women or children that dies every year.
So right now, the numbers are staggering. They've been staggering for many years, actually. Sierra Leone has been one of the highest percentages in the world. I think right now we are about number 3 in the world for the highest maternal mortality rate, which is the rate at which women die during pregnancy or childbirth. And also infant and child mortality, which is the rate at which children or infants under the age of 5 die related to pregnancy or birth issues. And so that number fluctuates right now. I know that 19% of women who have undergone cesarean section are more likely to die, have died. Here at the Freetown, at PCMH, which is the tertiary institution, the highest amount of people go there to give birth in the country. So anywhere in the provinces, any other issues or complications that happen, women while giving birth, where do they go? PCMH. So because of that, the numbers are very high. The demand is very high, and then the capacity is very low.
Okay, now let us talk about one of the reasons over the years has been at the bottom of the UNDP Human Development Index is as a result of the high rates of infants and maternal mortality. And there have been lots of interventions, by government and partners, especially the United Nations Population Fund. And also, there was a move, and there is a move right now, to discourage, home delivery. And more of us are dying, pregnant women are dying, infants are dying. But the thing that for you to get the actual statistics of what is actually happening, especially in remote areas, is a bit very, very difficult. Now, as a foundation, what do you do to reach out? Because there is this campaign, in how they call them, the people who are delivering, babies at home.
Yes.
I've seen in many occasions the Minister of Health, the UNFPA engaging them for them to actually defer or refer in a case, the reasons for them to have it. Because if babies are born, in formal, clinics,
yes,
there is a likelihood of you having the right statistics,
yes,
and those who are dying,
exactly,
and those who probably will survive, as the case may be. But as to speak, it is very difficult. That is why it is very difficult also to have the actual statistics of what is happening, especially in hard-to-reach areas. So, as a foundation, what do you do to capture all those, data?
Yes. So, very good point. I think that really you touched on the main issue. The main issue is that there's not proper recording of how, for us to be able to get a understanding, a wide picture of how and why these maternal mortality rates are what they are today in the country. As of right now, the number 1 cause of maternal mortality is hemorrhage, which is basically the medical term for bleeding, excessive bleeding. And the blood bank that we have is only one place, it's Plymouth. And so by the time you get there, depending on where you are, you might not be able to get the blood that you need.
On time.
Exactly. So that's the number 1, but there's several other instances or causes of maternal mortality, case by case. So as far as that, yes, there are so many reasons why we think that referral to institutions, PHUs, local clinics, and hospitals are the best way so that professionals who are specialized, like we're doing now, can be there to help mitigate these issues early. But by getting there on time, all of the other things that we know. But as far as the Mama Pekin Foundation, we have several different initiatives. Other than this postgraduate training program, we also have the Buckets program where we partner with certain PHUs, which are the local clinics. We have 2 here in Western area, rural and Western area, urban, 2 upline, 1 in Kabbalah, and 1 in Makeni, where we supply buckets with lapa, soap, and other things that are very important for us.
So in as much as you provide some of these items, you know, for the newborn, pregnant women, you know, lactating mothers, as the case may be, do you also go in for the data? Because the thing is that there are times Sierra Leone is actually misrepresented, you know, especially the presentation of data to, you know, donor partners or international community, because it is based on those data. But we are assessed.
Exactly.
You know, so do you also go in for, you know, some of these statistics?
We absolutely do. All of the places that we partner with, we're doing our best to make sure that, but we have to do this in partnership. We have nurses, we have doctors, we have people in the ministry and government, all working together. So we have to have the cooperation of everyone in order for us to do it and have accurate data. So that is something that we're constantly working on. All of to me, in my opinion, the way that we fix our maternal mortality rate really takes a concerted effort of many people, many different organizations, governments, a whole host of people for us to make it happen, including the local, just people.
Let's talk about the number of medical practitioners that are going to be trained. You have 7 and 4, that is 11. Owing to the fact that we have a lot of children dying and a lot of pregnant women and suckling mothers losing their lives. Do you think this number is sufficient?
I mean, I think it's a start. We would love to see this number go up. The issue, again, is the faith that these young people who are going to medical school here in Sierra Leone, they do not have faith in the government. Many times, this proposal of specialization has happened, and it has not come to light. Most people have traditionally gone outside for specialization, so to Ghana, to Australia, to China, to Kenya, and once they go, we all know the story of brain drain. It's hard for them to return.
So is this training going to be international or just national?
Yes, we even have one of the 11 residents is a Nigerian person. So we are hoping that this will also attract people to come to Sierra Leone to specialize. But the main purpose of this program is to keep it in-house for Sierra Leonean doctors to be trained and specialized in Sierra Leone to serve the women and children of Sierra Leone.
Okay, thank you so much. And she is a controversial Mama Pekin Foundation, Sierra Leone. She is Mahuta Rizkaba. Well, she's talking about a thing that a postgraduate thing that they are providing for our doctors to ensure that we reduce the rate of infants and maternal mortality in this country. Well, that is how we say goodbye. It has been Good Morning Sierra Leone, which came to you live on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. With us to the entire production team, especially producer and Princess Gibson and Samantha. I am Sheikh Usmaila saying goodbye and have a wonderful day.
And I am Daphne Kimamakoli. Don't forget this week's final edition of Good Morning Sierra Leone returns tomorrow. Have a blessed day.